Introduction to Ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt is one of the most fascinating and important civilizations in world history. Situated in northeast Africa, ancient Egypt developed along the Nile River, one of the greatest sources of life for the peoples who inhabited the region. With a history that spans more than 3,000 years, ancient Egypt is known for its pyramids, pharaohs, gods, and a culture rich in art, science, and spirituality. Geography of ancient Egypt. Location and importance of the Nile River. Location: Egypt is a country that is located in northeast Africa, bordered by the Mediterranean Sea to the north, Libya to the west, Sudan to the south, and the Red Sea to the east. Egyptian civilization flourished mainly on the banks of the Nile River. Nile River: the Nile River is the longest in the world, with over 6,650 kilometers in length. It was vital to life in ancient Egypt, as it provided water for agriculture, facilitated transportation, and ensured soil fertility through annual floods. The desert: Egypt is surrounded by deserts to the west, Sahara Desert, and east, which protected it from foreign invasions, but also made the land along the Nile even more important for survival. Major regions. Lower Egypt, area in the north, near the Nile Delta, characterized by fertile land. Upper Egypt, a region to the south, which has a more mountainous and less fertile terrain. History of ancient Egypt. Historical periods. The history of ancient Egypt is divided into several important periods. Prehistory and predynastic period, before 3100 BC. At this time, the first villages sprang up along the Nile, and farming became a common practice. Archaic period, circa 3100 to 2686 BC. Egypt was unified by Narmer, or Menes, the first pharaoh, who established the first dynasty and created a central government. Old Kingdom, 2686 to 2181 BC. Known as the Age of the Pyramids. It was the period in which the known as the Age of the Pyramids. It was the period in which the Great Pyramids of Giza were built, including the famous Pyramid of Khufu. Society was heavily centralized, and the pharaoh was seen as a living god. First Intermediate Period, 2181 to 2055 BC. A time of decentralization and disorder, where different rulers fought for power. Middle Kingdom, 2055 to 1650 BC. Egypt was reunified, and art and literature flourished. The pharaohs expanded trade and improved agricultural infrastructure. Second Intermediate Period, 1650 to 1550 BC. Invasion of the Hyksos, a people from the Middle East who brought new technological advances, such as war chariots. New Kingdom, 1550 to 1070 BC. Egypt reached its military and cultural peak, with pharaohs such as Thutmose III, Ramesses II, and Hatshepsut. It was a time of military campaigns and the construction of great temples, such as Karnak and Luxor. Late Period, 1070 to 332 BC. Egypt faced a series of foreign invasions, including the Assyrians and Persians, until it was conquered by Alexander the Great in 332 BC. Ptolemaic period, 332 to 30 BC. Ruled by the dynasty of Ptolemy, which introduced a Greek-Egyptian culture. The period ended with the famous Queen Cleopatra VII and the Roman conquest. Egyptian society. Pharaoh, considered a god on earth and the supreme ruler. Priests, responsible for worshipping the gods and maintaining temples. Scribes, they wrote important documents and were essential in administration. Peasants, they worked in agriculture and built large monuments. Slaves, captured during wars, they worked on construction projects. Egyptian culture. Religion. The Egyptians were polytheists and believed in many gods and goddesses, such as Ra, god of the sun, Osiris, god of the underworld, and Isis, goddess of fertility. The concept of an afterlife was central, and the bodies of the dead were mummified to preserve the spirit. They believed in judgment in the underworld, where the heart was weighed against a feather. Architecture and engineering. Pyramids, monumental constructions made as tombs for the pharaohs, with the most famous in Giza. Temples, religious structures, such as the Luxor Temple, where sacred rituals were performed. Obelisks, needle-shaped monuments that honored the gods and pharaohs. Writing and art. Hieroglyphics, the Egyptian writing system, which was used on monuments and religious documents. Painting and sculpture, used to decorate tombs and temples. The figures were represented in a stylized way, with the face and legs on the side and the torso in front. Scientific contributions. Medicine, the Egyptians had advanced medical knowledge and performed surgeries. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, for example, is one of the earliest known medical documents. Mathematics, they developed a system for measuring terrain and designing monuments accurately. Astronomy, the 365-day solar calendar was created to predict the flooding of the Nile. Legacy of ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt influenced many subsequent civilizations. Its monumental architecture and religious practices left a legacy that fascinates archaeologists and historians to this day. Egyptian mythology and the secrets of the pyramids continue to attract the interest of people all over the world.
Claro! Aqui estão mais 10 curiosidades sobre o Egito. Egito. Os faraós podiam ser gordinhos, apesar de serem representados como atléticos. Acredita-se que alguns faraós tinham sobrepeso, resultado de dietas ricas em pão, mel e cerveja. Múmias analisadas mostram sinais de doenças relacionadas à dieta. Os egípcios inventaram a pasta de dente. A higiene dental era importante para os egípcios, que usavam uma mistura de pó de casca de ovo, cinzas e mirra como pasta de dente para cuidar dos dentes. Pirâmide de Quéops é uma das 7 maravilhas do mundo. A Grande Pirâmide de Gizé é a única das 7 maravilhas do mundo antigo que ainda está de pé. Sua construção é um feito incrível de engenharia que continua a impressionar o mundo moderno. Múmias e medicina avançada. O processo de mumificação não era apenas religioso, mas também demonstrava o conhecimento médico dos egípcios. Eles entendiam sobre órgãos internos e desenvolveram práticas que ainda hoje são consideradas avançadas. Faraós usavam barbas falsas. Até as faraós mulheres, como Hatshepsut, usavam barbas postiças feitas de metal para simbolizar sua divindade e autoridade, uma tradição reservada à realeza. Tutancâmon e seus tesouros. Quando a tumba de Tutancâmon foi descoberta em 1922, seu conteúdo estava praticamente intacto. A máscara mortuária de ouro maciço e os objetos preciosos encontrados são alguns dos artefatos mais famosos do Egito Antigo. Obeliscos por todo o mundo. Os egípcios construíram grandes obeliscos, muitos dos quais foram levados para diferentes partes. O Livro dos Mortos. Este era um guia para o além, cheio de feitiços e encantamentos que ajudavam a alma do falecido a navegar pelo submundo e alcançar a vida eterna. As cópias eram enterradas com os mortos como um manual de instruções. Cerveja era a bebida popular. A cerveja era a bebida mais comum no Egito Antigo, feita de cevada e consumida por todas as classes sociais. Trabalhadores que construíam as pirâmides recebiam rações diárias de pão e cerveja como pagamento. Os egípcios amavam os jogos. Jogos de tabuleiro, como Sené, eram extremamente populares. Este jogo era jogado por todas as classes sociais, inclusive os faraós, e acredita-se que tinha um significado espiritual.